Hi there, I'm Nina Goradia. Today I want to talk about how to deal with regret. So we think that we should have known better, usually, right? Hindsight is 20/20. But let's really explore this and see if you should have known better. So did you pick where you were born? Did you pick who your parents were? Did you pick your early life traumas? Now, most people are going to say no. I know some people are going to say yes. The people who have looked into soul planning, pre-birth planning, and that's fine. This is still going to work. Maybe just not for the first few questions. Okay. But did you pick that no one taught you how to be with your thoughts or feelings? Did you pick that, you were treated a certain way, you were raised a certain way? Did you pick how the kids at school treated you? Are you responsible really for every person's actions in your life? So even if you believe in the pre-birth planning, it's really hard to make that kind of leap. Oh, I'm responsible for every single action. And just entertain it for a moment. So okay, all these things happened to me. And then my ego became constructed based on those things to defend me, to help me survive the environment. So were all those experiences, could they be considered arbitrary if I didn't pick them? They just happened to me, all these random things. And then my ego has to respond in all these random ways accordingly to what happened to me. Is my ego arbitrary? I'm going to posit to you that yes, it is. Your ego or your personality structure, I am going to submit and you consider that's totally arbitrary. This personality you think you are, you're not that. An ego structure. So back to the regret, okay? Doesn't seem like you had a lot of control over how this ego structure developed. You're just boom, put in an environment. You're in a body that is designed to respond in all these ways to create an ego, to help it survive in the environment that it's in. And then at some point, you identify with that. You think that that's who you are. So keep going down the line. Still, no one's teaching you about your thoughts or feelings, how to respond to things. The program is playing out. It's playing out. It's playing out. And I'm here to tell you it needed to play out. Until you become self-aware of the program, it's going to play out and there's nothing you can do about it. To put an expectation on oneself that I should have been self-aware before I was self-aware. I know we all wish that, but it's simply not the case. We don't expect a baby to be self-aware. And so notice whatever happened here that you regret, it was a part of the program that was playing out. So ego programming, personality structure, when it responds to something happening in the present moment, it's not a real-time response. It's an old response, it's programming, it's habit, it's just habitual. This is how these neurons have always fired. This is how they're going to fire in this moment. Until I can bring more presence and awareness to the situation, that's just what's going to happen. And so as I learn, it's going to hurt, right? Because I'm like, oh, I was just following the program. I didn't know it wasn't going to work for this. I've never faced this before. I don't have a program for this yet, this new situation. So either people build new programs for things, because of regret, which is fine. Okay, I want to be, a better driver because I was careless and I had an accident. Okay, I'm going to really work hard at that. That's great. But then if I'm just stuck in regret, I made one mistake, so the rest of my life, I'm going to live in regret. Well, that's not practical, nor is that helpful to anyone around us either. We can transform these things, but you have to start to see it very clearly. What happened is you didn't know better. You weren't taught about the machinery that you arrived in, your mind, your body, your emotions. You weren't taught how any of it worked. You were just winging it, like all of us. None of us had a manual. And then all these things happened and they collided, and it was all arbitrary in a lot of ways. No one's knowing what you're not knowing what you're doing. Other people aren't knowing what they're doing until we're slowly all becoming self-aware. Oh, I'm present now during this part of the program playing out. So just know that although this is very painful, I understand these feelings of regret. It is part of the path of being human, of learning, of becoming wise. The wisest people you meet, they've made the most mistakes. But what do you do with that regret? What do you do with that newfound knowledge and awareness? You can't keep beating yourself up for it. Not only because it's not productive, but it's not the truth. That's the point of this video. It might sound like I'm repeating myself. I want one thing to sink in. And it's that you couldn't have known better before you did. You just couldn't. You're not a mind reader. You're not an all-knowing being. You can't predict the future. You can't predict the actions of other people. You couldn't have controlled. You don't have absolute control. You could not have controlled the outcome of something where very likely thousands of variables arose on multiple sides of what happened and then converged in a given event. So I'm trying to think of an example I can give you. So say like two people had an argument and it led to a divorce. And so you can say, oh, I just shouldn't have said that one thing. That's not really what happened. So both people had lived their whole lives up until the point of meeting each other, had thousands and millions of things that have happened to them, shaped their perceptions, traumas, ways of thinking, different biologies, different circumstances, different strengths, different weaknesses. And then an interaction happens through personality structures that were arbitrarily formed by their arbitrary environments. And depending on how much self-awareness was between the two people, things kind of played out the way they were probably going to play out. Now, when we bring more presence and awareness to a situation, it's not necessarily so automatic as that, but it's usually not this one thing that seemed to happen in the moment. We think it is, but that wouldn't have happened had it not been for the series of events prior that shape the way that our brain has been functioning. So it seems like, oh, I should have had control in this one moment, is really like millions and millions of patterns of just do this, say yes, 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 yes. And you think in one moment, the brain's, no, it usually doesn't happen that way. There's a lot of momentum behind a lot of our programming. Even how I'm moving my hand right now, I'm not thinking about this. I've probably moved my hand like this a million times. But if I were to think of, okay, now I'm lifting it pretty consciously. You see the difference? So we have so many conditioned movements of our body, thinking patterns, emotional triggers. And so I just want to see if we can extend some grace to ourselves, some forgiveness around these regrets, and kind of take a step back and see them from a higher vantage point, because that's going to be necessary in order to move forward and to not keep repeating certain things. So what we fight oftentimes can get repeated because we need to meet a wound with compassion for it to integrate. So you need to meet this regret with self-empathy, self-compassion. You can watch my videos on that. You need to really meet yourself very kindly, no matter what it is. I don't care what it is. Meet yourself very kindly here so that you can heal. If you keep pushing it down, you keep abusing it, this feeling, it's going to come up in ways that are going to cause more pain or destruction. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and to know if anyone tried this. I hope it helps. I hope you can be kind and gentle with yourself. Take care. See you next time.